All have turned aside, he says in verse 12. This is the opposite of repentance. We were created good. God made man good and upright. Adam and Eve were good. Everything he made, he said, was very good. And he's saying the whole human race in Adam and Eve, the opposite of repentance. They changed their mind from being faced towards God and having a relationship, a positive one with him, and they decided to change their mind and do a 180, turn away from him and go the other way. Whereas now that's all of our state. We have all turned away from God. We did it in Adam and Eve, our first parents, but we even do it ourselves as we keep walking away from God. And so repentance is when you turn back, you change your mind and turn towards God and trust in Jesus, forsaking walking away from him and walking towards him and embracing Jesus and what he's done in the cross specifically to save us. Now, Paul says everyone has turned from God. They've turned off the right path and they're walking away from God. All have turned aside. All have deviated. All have kept themselves aloof from God. All have avoided God. This word, turned aside, it can mean to shun someone. And in some sense, we've not only turned away from him, but we've shunned him. I want to hear nothing of what you say. Walk away from him. All have turned aside. Together, they have become worthless. My goodness. Together they have become worthless. How else could you translate that word? Or what are some other things that would help us understand? Together they've all become useless. Together they have all become unserviceable, unprofitable. They have spoiled themselves. They've become rotten. They have together become of no value. Together they have become futile. People work their whole lives aiming towards goals, aiming to have a certain kind of family, or a certain kind of job, or a certain kind of bank account, or a group of friends, or a physical physique. Fill in the blank with things that people are chasing after. And what Paul is bringing out in this passage is that it doesn't matter what you get or don't get. If you don't get Jesus, and Jesus doesn't get you, you are worthless. You're created for a purpose, for a reason. As the old confessions of faith say, the Westminster Confession, number one, what is the chief purpose of man? What is the main purpose, the chief end of men, of man, of women, of children, of humans? You know the answer. To glorify God and enjoy him forever. If that's not what your life is based on, which if you're not a Christian, there's no way it can be because you don't even seek for God, you don't understand, you don't want him. If it's not based on God and his glory and enjoying him and who he is for you in Jesus Christ, you're worthless. I'm worthless. Useless. We're living in opposition to the very thing or the very way we're created to live. And again, he reiterates, no one does good, not even one. No one does good? It again calls us to go, wait. I see a lot of people who aren't Christians doing good things. But you're saying, Paul's saying, no one out of the saving work of God in Jesus does good? So again, you come to the crossroads. Is what I perceive and what I call good and seeing these actions of other people, is that true? Is that actually good, what I call good? Or is God true when he says no one does good? Those are your only two options. You're right in what you think and what you perceive in the world, or God's right in what he says in the Word. You have to make that choice. And so if God is true, or it'd be better to say since God is true, everything that we might interpret as good, we go, well, how is that actually not good? We should ask that question. And Paul says in Romans 14, that which does not proceed from faith is sin. And if God created us for his glory, if we're not doing something from faith, as Paul says in Romans 14, that means confidence, trust, reliance upon God in Jesus. If it's not through faith in God, in Jesus Christ, then it's sin. But even furthermore, if it's not through faith and to the glory of God, it's missing it all. So even those who do seemingly good things, things that we say, well, that's great that someone adopted someone. That's fantastic. It's great that someone opened up orphanages or gave millions of dollars for scholarships for people who can't afford to go to college. Wow, that's a great thing. But the action that was happening, the motive matters. And if it's not through faith in Jesus to the glory of God, Paul says it's sin. Wow. So what we have to do is interpret things not through what we perceive, but through what God says and go, wow, no one does good. We can easily fill in the blank with the things that we go, oh, wow, that is not good. There are a lot of not good things you could bring to mind. But even those things, if it's outside of someone who has faith in Jesus and lives and works to the glory of God, it's sin. Those things you need to bring into the proper category and realize even that is not good. It's not a righteous act. Not even one.